It's 7 o'clock. We'll call to order the meeting of the Common Council on Tuesday, September 12th. Mr. Sparks, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lees, will you call the roll?
Mr. Ayers,
Present.
Mr. Boyce, Mr. Davis,
Present.
Mr. O'Connor,
Present.
Mr. Peterson,
Present.
Mr. Schwartz,
Present.
Mr. Sparks,
Present.
Ms. Wiles,
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from our August 29th meeting.
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes from our August 29th meeting. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 8-0. Approval of the agenda.
Mr. President, I would move to amend the agenda to add new ordinance for discussion 230923, council to consider ordinance 230923, and ordinance correcting a scrivener's error in Article 8, Part G of the Noblesville Unified Development Ordinance, and ordinance 681122, Denise Ashelman, and miscellaneous 2, council to hear an update on the Pleasant Street project. Allison Krupski.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to amend the agenda to add new ordinance for discussion, number 2309-23. Council to consider ordinance number 2309-23, an ordinance correcting a scrivener's error in Article 8, Part G of the Noblesville Unified Development Ordinance, and ordinance number 68-11-12, Denise Ashelman. And miscellaneous number 2, council to hear an update on the Pleasant Street project, Allison Krupski. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 8-0.
Mr. President, I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. This is also a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 8-0. Petitions or comments by citizens who are present. I do not have any, but if you would like to speak, you can fill out a card out there and give it to Ms. Lees. Moving on to council committee reports. Roads, Mr. Peterson.
The Roads Committee met September 1st, 2023. Mark Boyce, Greg O'Connor, and myself were present. I do want to note that Mark Boyce was on time for the meeting. The street rehabilitation contracts for 2023, Morris Point Subdivision, Old Town south of Cherry and 10th, Pinehurst Village, Pebblebrook Village, Prairie Crossing Woods and Greens are all going to happen in 23. Contract number 3, Union Chapel Road to Greenfield Avenue and Town and Country Boulevard, Town and Country Boulevard from Union Chapel to Mercantile, and the west portion of Chapel Woods subdivision. Hamilton County projects, 146 in Allisonville, Greenfield Avenue. Both of those you can probably find on their website are going on through 24-25. The Hamilton County Surveyor is doing 2 culvert replacements, 181st and Presley, and 156th and Summer Road. So there'll be a couple of road closings. Again, if you want to look at their websites, you can find out about those. NDOT projects, roundabout at 32 and River Road is open for anybody who's not had a chance to drive through it. And it looks great. According to Noblesville Chatter, it looks really good. 38 in Oakmont, that is open, started construction on Monday. According to Noblesville Chatter, that one's going well as well. 32 road construction, there's no real changes there. NDOT that's scheduled for 24. 37 and 186 is a street reduced conflict intersection. That is going to possibly start later this year. 37 and 191st Street, no updates. Bowden Road and 38, Hinkle Road and 38, those are all going to be done in 24. Pleasant Street, I will skip that since we have an update tonight. That'll be much more eloquent than I will ever have said. Little Chicago Trail over Morris, 140th Street and Promise Road, those are all in 24, Oleo. Bowden Road corridor, wasn't supposed to read that one. Nickel Plate Trail, anybody who's not been out on it, is now paved. There is some shoulder work going on and railings, and it will be open to the public late September, with a ribbon cutting in October. Downtown district, signal flashers are scheduled, it's been awarded, those should be going in sometime this fall. And we had a, traffic committee did not meet, and we had a very lively discussion about the trail from, Stony Creek, where it goes under Stony Creek, under 37 at Stony Creek, which is beautiful, and how to get that out to Finch Creek. We didn't have any, we just started the discussion. That's it, that's all I got.
Only thing I'd add on all of those is the city does a great job of keeping the projects page up to date, which lists a lot of those projects on there. So
And where can I find that?
on the City of Noblesville's website,
Thank you,
/projects.
thank you.
I would like to add, the reason I couldn't attend the meeting is my wife and I had a little venture of 1,200 miles of Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Interstates, highways, county roads, city roads. We are not the only community with orange cones. And the few that didn't have orange cones, I believe they wish they could have had orange cones. The road, there's a lot of construction going on, I'm glad they're doing it, because the roads are not in great shape in most of the interstates out there, so.
Anybody else have anything to add? Not, we'll move on to finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance met September 7th. We had Mr. Haberman in to give us an update on the Make My Move program, which we've invested $400,000 in, and we've got 66 new residents as a result, which includes spouses and children. There are more to come yet this year. I think it's a total of 45 new residents with families, so that number could be more like 90 to 100. We haven't budgeted any money for the program at 24. I think we're just going to let it marinate for a year or two and see what the economic impact is, although some estimates have been done, and it's well north of, if I remember right, Megan, wasn't it $2 million? More than that, wasn't it?
Yep.
So, at the end of the day, we need to see how it actually performs, but these are people that came in, they work remotely. Most of them are technically oriented jobs. So that seems to be where a lot of things are going. So we will track this for another year and see how things come out in 24. The 24 budget timeline, we discussed that. And I don't know, Aaron, if you talked to everybody, but the introduction of the budget for 24 is September 26th, so that's our next meeting, right?
Yep.
And the final adoption of the budget's been moved to the 24th of October to accommodate some schedules. So just so everybody's aware, we're going to skip the first meeting, or first meeting in October.
Yep, we'll leave it open for a meeting.
We had a discussion about the state income tax elimination. If you've seen any of the comments from some of the gubernatorial candidates, there's a conversation about eliminating the state income tax. That'll be a long-term project, I'm sure. There is a study committee in place now that is looking at different alternatives, but from our point of view, we wanted to at least kick around what impact might there be on local income, which directly affects the city. At this point, it wouldn't appear that local income tax is going to be affected by anything with respect to the state income tax, but one never knows, so I think we just need to keep an eye on what happens with those conversations. Good news, Mr. Spalding has hired a new deputy controller, Caitlin Moss, and she will start October 2nd, so that will help him delve into some things that are on the plate but haven't gotten enough attention. They're priorities, but nonetheless, you need a little more muscle to get to them. So that will be a welcome addition. And the claims come with a favorable recommendation.
Mr. O'Connor, do you remember when the stats about the Make My Move, haven't about a third of the people already bought a home, and about a third intend to buy a home?
Renters.
And a third are renters, isn't that?
I think that's accurate, and I think the preponderance of people have moved in from the West Coast and Chicago. So I think they see the Midwest as an attractive place to be, and the incentives certainly help, and I think it's just a matter to see what our return on investment's gonna be. So,
We have a few people that have crossed the 1-year mark, and no one has left yet.
nobody's
correct?
left.
Nobody's left.
Mr. President, I also believe that our new hire, Caitlin Moss, is a Noblesville High School graduate, so here
That's true.
from Noblesville and coming to work for the city is
Very cool.
That's always good to hear.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion to approve the claims.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the claims. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 8-0. Ms. Lees, when I read this, do I need to read it as 29? Okay. Council to consider new ordinances for discussion. Council to consider ordinance number 29-09-23 and ordinance correcting a Scrivener error in Article 8, Part G of the Noblesville Unified Development Ordinance and ordinance number 68-11-22.
Move to introduce.
Second.
Ms. Ashelman.
Hello.
Good evening.
You previously approved updates to our floodplain ordinance that were required by both DNR and FEMA. DNR and I went back and forth for about 6 months. Unfortunately, neither one of us caught that we misidentified a map effective date for our flood maps. It was adopted as November 14th, 2014. It should have been adopted as November 19th, 2014. So this Scrivener's error is to correct the incorrect map date that was only found upon our FEMA review of our ordinance.
Very thorough
I can't believe
bureaucrats
you missed it the
at
first
federal
time.
level.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was only like a 40-page ordinance.
Yeah, right.
Since we have the budget next week, would you like for this to be approved on the first?
You can. I won't ask you to, but you can.
Since we have the budget next week, I would make
Yeah.
a motion that we approve this ordinance on the first reading.
Second.
Do we have to say waive the rules or does it matter?
Oh, then we would waive.
I would waive the rules. I'd like to waive the rules and pass this on first reading, hear it on first reading.
Pass on first reading.
Vote on first reading.
Yeah. And then you second it?
I do.
There's a motion and a second to waive the rules and approve this on first reading. Is that a hand vote or roll call? Hand vote. It's a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 8-0.
Mr. President, I would move to approve ordinance 290923 on first reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2909-23. This is also a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Nope.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
I'm just,
Close.
It's beautiful. Roll call vote. Ms. Lees.
Mr. Ayers,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mr. O'Connor,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz,
Aye.
Mr. Sparks,
Aye.
Ms. Wiles,
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nay, the ordinance is approved.
Thank you. Miscellaneous number 1, council to consider approval of the 2024 regular meeting schedule. Ms. Lees.
Good evening. This is our yearly approval of meetings for next year. There are no conflicts. In December, we moved the meetings up 1 week, as we usually do, to accommodate the holidays. Just ask for your approval. We do it this early so that planning can get their schedules set.
Mr. President,
Mr. O'Connor?
I would move that we approve the dates for the Common Council and Board of Works and Safety meetings as presented.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve the 2024 regular meeting schedule. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 8-0. Miscellaneous number 2, council to hear an update on the Pleasant Street project. Ms. Krupski,
Good evening.
welcome.
As you guys, I think, are aware, we do a quarterly stakeholder meeting with the elected officials, the presidents of each elected body for the county and the city of Noblesville. And so I thought that I would come in today and just give that presentation to all of you today. Feel free to ask questions during the presentation, cut me off. So here we go. So today we'll talk mainly about phase 1. That's where the majority of the construction is going on, and then we'll dive into a little bit of phases 2 and 3, and then leave some time for questions. So has anybody actually been out to the site to see it yet? Have you? All right. I would love to give a tour. I know we started to kind of set one up. It went by the wayside, but if anybody wants to go out and get a tour of the site, it's pretty amazing. You can see on here the phase 1 limits are from River Road all the way to 10th Street. The green areas are the roadway portions that are under construction. The dark blue area is the bridge over the White River. And then obviously the light blue is 8th Street that is currently under construction and to be open to traffic by November 2nd of this year. This is just an updated photo of if you have walked out or driven by 8th Street, you can see this is looking to the west. So you can see the wastewater treatment plant in this visual, and then 8th Street running north and south. This is our tunnel. It's a photo of our tunnel. So this is where the Riverwalk will meet into the Midland Trace Trail. And we have this tunnel, and then there'll be a pedestrian area with seating and a lot of aesthetic plantings in this area. Once it's complete, you can also see that the wall, the MSE wall panels, they have artwork on them. So there's a peony and a cardinal on one side, and then the other side is the state of Indiana. You can't see it as well with peonies. The color on there, it will be painted. Actually, that is an old color. It's a different color of gray now. So just so you know, it will not be that color when you go out there, but also the MSE wall cap, so the top of the wall where you see it kind of overhanging, that will also be painted as well. And then we will be painting the murals also, and the inside of the tunnel. That was a video that's been recently posted to our social media, just showing the progress again of 8th Street and how it connects into existing Pleasant Street, historic Pleasant Street, which I will get into in a second. The portion of existing Pleasant Street to the west of 8th Street is now named Historic Pleasant Street. I don't know, if you haven't been out there, you may not be aware of that. So their addresses have changed, and that is the new roadway name. So construction update on the bridge. The bridge is it is on schedule and it's going very well. Actually, beams got delivered today. So if you were on Pleasant Street, you could have gotten stopped in traffic. They had to close down the road. These beams were 144-foot beams. There were 7 of them that needed to be delivered. They had to take down all the signage in the roundabout so that the beams could span over them. It was a really cool. I have a video of it if
I
anyone
was
wants
going
to see
south on 10th Street, and I got stopped right there. Yeah, it was crazy.
it. It was worth it
super
though,
cool.
right? Because it was really cool.
Yeah, no, it was, and they were really fast. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
yep.
It was,
It's pretty amazing. They have a truck in the front, and then they steer from the back as well to make sure that, you know, they're not running over something.
and there were 2 that went in at the same time when I was
Yep.
there.
Yeah, they came in pairs, so. The bridge also has murals on it, so the center piers that span over, that are right in the center of the waterway, they have murals, so If you go out there, you can see that it's on both sides of that one pier. All the other bridge piers, they do not have murals, but they do have those little window panels. And maybe someday the county will come back and put different murals in there if they so choose. So this is just a picture of the pier cap construction. So if you go out there today, the caps are fully in there, and that is what the beams sit on. So the beams that were delivered today, they sit on top of that cap, and then after that, we'll come in and we'll pour the bridge deck. So another great operation that if you do get a chance to come out, is a really neat thing to watch. That will be a very early morning pour. Are you laughing because I'm such a dork about it?
No, I was thinking, can we put our initials in the concrete?
Yeah, maybe.
Were those, the spans that came in today, are they full spans?
So.
144, or is there be another?
So
set?
there are multiple spans on this bridge. So this is the span over the waterway. So these are the
Okay.
largest beams that will be delivered to this site. But yes, all the other beams will be delivered throughout this week and next week. So there's
Start in the
still
middle and
plenty of
work
time
out.
to go out there
Yeah.
and see. So this is a picture of where the spans are. And so the one that they are setting today is over the river. And so they had 2 massive cranes out there today that picked them off the trucks and, you know.
So they said
Set 'em.
those today.
Yep,
They put 'em-
yep. When I went out there at around 1 o'clock, they only had 2 set, so, but their goal is to have them done, completely done, all 7 of them done today, so. So the 3-month look ahead, as stated earlier, 8th Street will be open November 2nd. We are very excited about that. People will think it's ready to be open because it's fully paved now, but we want to keep that closed because they'll do a lot of the median work, the aesthetic plantings, and they want to do that under a closure. So it will look like it can be driven on, but it will be closed until that date. They'll continue with the offline roadway construction, bridge construction, and then utility relocation at 10th Street. You've probably already seen some of that start happening, and some of the material storage that's happening on some of the land that we acquired over there. So that will cause a few restrictions as we move forward with 10th Street closing next year. So when 8th Street opens, it will be 1 lane in each direction, north and south. And that is because it's 1 lane in each direction, north of the roundabout and south of the roundabout. And it's a temporary condition, but over the winter we wanted to open it up. And you don't want to open it up to 2 lanes. The reason you need those 2 lanes is because people, in the future condition, is because people will be heading to the west on Pleasant Street or coming from the west on Pleasant Street. And we will not allow that, so there'll be barricades so people cannot get on the western portion of Pleasant Street because we don't want people driving, falling off the bridge, but also there's nowhere for them to go. So it will be barricaded, they won't be able to head west. So 1 lane in each direction, north and south on 8th Street, and then there will be access to historic Pleasant Street and then Pleasant Street to the east. Now, this is a temporary condition over the winter. As stated earlier, 10th Street will close next year in the summer, and at that time, obviously, we'll have a new detour in place.
How long will that closure be?
That is a 75 or 90-day closure. I think I have it on a slide coming up. I have a lot of dates in my head right now. They will do the final surface asphalt next year of 8th Street, so this condition will look like what 32 and River and 32 and 38 looked like, where you have that little lip between the curb and gutter, because the final surface layer of the asphalt will not be on there yet. This slide was for the beam delivery, so it just shows how they came in. So it looks like we'll be setting beams through the 22nd. There are waterway closures for the White River right now, just as we place them over the White River, because it's not a safe condition to have boaters going through there where you're lifting 144 foot beams over them. So there will be temporary restrictions there. We are 40% complete right now. This is bridge and roadway, and we are currently on budget. That's great news. There will be some change orders coming in for the roadway portion, but many of those change orders are things that we've added to accommodate just future conditions, and so they're not large, especially compared to a $38.6 million project, but at this time we are on budget. So that is great news. Schedule, we are also on schedule, which is, I love being able to say both of those. Currently, Again, 8th Street will open November 2nd. River Road will then go under construction starting in the spring, late spring of next year, and then we'll get to 10th Street, and that will be a full closure coming in June, July of next year. The River Road will just be a restriction, so it will not be a full closure. We will have all traffic in each direction the entire duration of that construction. It'll be phased. But 10th Street will be a full closure, and then obviously substantial completion roadway open to traffic at the end of November next year. Something to note is that while 10th Street is under construction and under a closure, Phase 2 of Pleasant Street will have started, and we do need a full closure of Pleasant Street for Phase 2. So we are still working on what that maintenance traffic plan will look like and how to coordinate that. And I think we've learned a lot from the detour that we use for 8th Street on things that we might implement a little differently and some things that we'll do the same. So I think you're all aware of all the project communication that we've done, but we have been using Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter. We have door hangers that we're putting out. We've hosted teacher education classes, so that has been a really neat project. I think that because of the size of this project, it's really attracted attention from the industry and just getting people interested in the construction, civil engineering futures. And so we've had teacher education classes, behind the scenes tours. So I think you guys have seen it on our city website. We just recently posted 2 residents that won at a Chamber of Commerce event a tour of the site, and they thoroughly enjoyed it, so that was fun to do. And then some of the concerns that we're getting is obviously access during the closure. So if you are along the closure, obviously people are going to have concerns about that. We've been handling them as they come in. Trucks and dust has been a big part of it. I think our contractor has bought car washes for a couple people just because it has gotten dusty, so they've been very good partners on that. Utility issues, and then we have a lot of people visiting the site that are not authorized, and not that we don't want people, we love people to see what we're doing, but obviously it's not safe. There's active construction going on, so we're trying to keep people as far away as possible unless they're guided through it. Another video for you.
Oh, it's just so wonderful.
This is from the tour.
Amazing, amazing work, and the murals are going to be so cool, and the trail connection, how fantastic. Oh, so cool.
You kind of see it from a distance as you're running down the road here and there, but you kind of can't get a feel for the scale of it until you get out there on it, and it's pretty impressive.
It's so important. Everybody knows the crowds that we get when we try to drive 32 at 5 o'clock in the rush hour, and this will help alleviate that.
You do these projects, I think, for 10, 15, 20 years down the road. You don't do a project like this for tomorrow. So I'm kind of thinking the transit through the town at rush hour is one thing, and that's going to have an immediate impact. But the impact of this down the road is even bigger, I think. It just opens up a lot of economic activity for down the road.
There's a nice echo there, so you got to hear it twice or not hear it at all. But that is also on our website if you're interested in hearing what they actually had to say. Just super excited about the project and what will become of it once it's done. Phase 2 and 3, well, first, any questions on Phase 1 before I get into Phases 2 and 3? All right, Phase 2 and 3 coordination, we are bidding this project on September 26th, so in 2 weeks. Very excited about that. So Phases 2 and 3, they're being bid separately, but on the same day, so they're 2 separate bid packages, so we could possibly have 2 separate contractors that would get awarded Phase 1 that would get awarded Phase 2 and one that could get awarded Phase 3. Land acquisition is still ongoing. Obviously, this presentation was made for county officials as well, so we really just listed the county coordination that we would need, so the county fairgrounds, which actually the commissioner signed off on that parcel yesterday, so that is great news. And then we have some Phase 3 issues that we're still working through with them, with some parcels in their jurisdiction.
For those who may not be familiar, can you define Phase 2 and Phase 3?
Yes, thank you, yeah. So Phase 2 is from 10th Street all the way to the 19th Street. And the reason we're ending it at 19th Street and not going to 37 is because State Road 37 has to be studied separately. And we are currently studying State Road 37. We have been doing that for the past couple of years, and we will continue to do that and ask for funding for that from NDOT as we move forward. But that is why 37 and Pleasant is not included in this. We will do some interim fixes at State Road 37 and Pleasant, similar to what we did at Greenfield and 37, because we know that there will be added traffic coming through to this area, to an already failing intersection, and we want to make sure that we're at least doing what we can from a local standpoint without NDOT support to come in and redo the entire intersection. So Phase 2 is to 19th Street, and we will be widening the 19th Street roundabout with that. And then Phase 3 starts at just west of River Road and heads all the way to State Road 32 in Hague. So we still also have some coordination on the Wilson Drain, as everyone's aware, the Firestone, Bridgestone contamination, stuff that we're still working through. And then the Cicero Creek Bridge, we still need some stuff from the Hamilton County Surveyor's Office on that as well.
Is Phase 3 the Hague Road, is the Hague Road roundabout part of this project, or is that part of the NDOT?
No, it is part of this project, and NDOT has fully approved it, and they're on board of it. There will be a full closure of State Road 32 in 2025 in order to construct that roundabout. And the reason we have to do the full closure is because there's a tunnel under State Road 32, and for them they can't phase a portion of that. So no matter what, they're going to have to phase it for 30 days. And we thought we would just get in and get out and get the entire roundabout done. And so that will be in 2025. So, any other questions?
The only one I can think of is when you open up 8th Street on the 2nd,
Yep.
when's the closure at 9th Street going to occur?
So that when we close 10th Street, that's when it'll occur. So not until the middle of next year.
Okay. So you're still going to have a four-way there coming off the roundabout, right?
Yep.
Excuse me.
So 9th Street will be closed completely?
During construction, obviously, we'll have to allow access to residents that live there, but yeah, at
So then
Pleasant Street.
Once that's completed, does 9th Street just become a right in, right out? or-
Yes, yep, there'll be a median between 8th and 10th. And so if they need to make a left turn, they'll turn right, go around the roundabout to make their left turn. And we're seeing that in a lot of places in Hamilton County especially. It's a safety feature for left turn
I
movements
assume it'll be
anyway.
the same on 11th Street and 13th Street?
11th will have a median, 13th will have a cut where we'll allow left ins but no left outs. So, and there will be a U-turn movement that is allowed at 13th as well.
Good job.
Yeah, we rarely hear on budget or on time in the
Yes,
same
yeah.
project, so this is both.
It feels good to be able to say that, so.
Great job.
Do you have any idea, just, the complaint I hear most is just the street closures?
Yep.
How much time do you think that is saved, rather than doing partials like the NDOT project in front of the hospital?
Oh, gosh. I mean, again, the NDOT
Years?
project for 2 roundabouts took 2 years to do it. So we gave them 180 days for 8th Street. So, I mean, you're looking at a whole year, a whole other 180 days. So,
Any other questions?
Great work.
Again, great job.
Great job.
thanks, guys.
Keep it going.
It's moving.
Moving on to council comments. Anybody have anything before we adjourn? Okay, we are adjourned.
Dinner.